Love Talk Radio.
Greetings, 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 and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Broadcasting live right now and in this most present moment in divine space. I invite you, invite a guest, invite a friend of me. All is a blessing, all is a blessing. I'm grateful for my international listening audience. I'm grateful for my international viewing and participating audience. I love and appreciate my co-hosts. Come on in. Co-hosts, the live link is now streaming. StreamYard at the bottom of your screen. Follow the StreamYard.com/code at the bottom of the screen, and you too can join me here in this most present moment. Welcome, welcome, come on in. All is a blessing. Greetings and salutations. YouTube, welcome. Facebook, greetings. Twitter and Periscope. Come on in, come on in. EarthCam, come on in. Thank you, Blog Talk Radio. Thank you, Blog Talk Radio. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Greetings, my cousins. Yes, come on in. Yvette Jose, greetings, beloved. Welcome. I only know you as come on in, beloved. How you doing? Yes, indeed. Greetings. Lakeisha, come on in, Lakeisha Morehouse. Greetings and salutations. Welcome again, Alexis Williams. Come on in. Greetings and salutations. It's Wellness Monday. Come on in. All is a blessing. Greetings. Area code 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143. Remember to press the number 1 on your telephone keypad. It will allow me to open your mic and bring you into the conversation. Greetings, Shemafia Rothschild. Come on in, beloved. Greetings and salutations. Long time no see. Come on in. Welcome, Chef Bougie. Welcome. It's always an honor to be in the presence of Chef Bougie and the beloved Orisha. Come on in. I am here. I am well. All is moving forward. Come on in. It's Wellness Monday. Come on in. S. Marie. Greetings and salutations. Jennifer Anderson. Welcome. Yes. Blessings to you and yours. Come on in. My beloved cousin Lakeithia. Come on in, beloved. Yes. Greetings. All is a blessing. We're still on the map. It was just a hurricane. Not quite Katrina, but it was a hurricane. Close. All is a blessing. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to have to figure out how to remedy that. Please help me to figure out how to remedy those little glitches. I'd appreciate it. I really would. Come on in, everyone. Welcome. And make sure I get everything together here. Come back home to Africa.
Come back home.
Come back home to Africa.
Come back home.
Greetings. Come on in. Welcome. Greetings and salutations. Once again, it's always humbling and indeed a great honor to share this sacred space with you that we collectively create and recreate here at high noon, US Central Standard Time, on various platforms, but foundationally blogtalkradio.com. Please, if you haven't done so, follow me, subscribe, like some shows, entertain yourself with some old shows, catch up in the archive, if you will, at blogtalkradio.com/the hyphen divine hyphen prince. You can listen in archive, but you can also join us live by telephone at area code 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143. You can also join us by following the StreamYard link that is now scrolling at the bottom of the page. And at some point, I might copy and paste it back into the chat group again. But please also enjoy us and entertain us there. Please also like, subscribe, follow my YouTube page, youtube.com/Voodoo Tide. V like Victor, OODOOTYE, Voodoo Tide. You can also go to YouTube, I believe, and type in the DivinePrince Tide. I may also come up in a general search. As always, I begin with a mantra, a chant, a prayer, an oriki, if you will. And I begin by saying, Eshu Alekwana Kosi Were, Awo Unlo Uto no Iwo, Ada Afanbo Osi, Obatala Mi Ita Ni Ivo no Elio, Alban Eshu. Eshu is the respected elder who flogs, confronts, and uncovers fools. That one versed in mysteries uses truth to own you. He causes scatter to feed poverty. Obatala shakes rascals to have sacrifice. I don't know why I have to grab a tissue like an old Baptist preacher every time I start talking, but something always goes on. The owner of warnings is the one who is Eshu, Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Hashe. May our Ebo reach your room. May our Ebo be accepted. May indeed our Ebo allow what we desire to come to pass. And so we say Ashe. Those who are in agreement say Ashe. Those who acknowledge the power in the shoulders upon which we stand say Ashe. Those who understand that there's something bigger and greater than ourselves, we say Ashe. Those who know that without the shoulders and the roots and the trunk of the tree that is our ancestors, that has lowered its branches with fresh fruit, fresh generations, without them, we would have not our being. I am, at least once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, I stop and I say, and I re-say, and I re-acknowledge, and I re-chant, and I re-mantra, I am, I am, I am, because my creators are more powerful, open, receptive to all that operates for my good, here and now, in this most present moment in time space. At least once a day, 4 times a day, 7 times a day, I am, I am, I am, because my ancestors are all powerful, open, and receptive to all that operates indeed for my good. And many of you are familiar with my number one mantra is all is a blessing. All is a blessing. All is a blessing. It's more than just, a mantra with a quick definition. As some of you have come to understand, it's multi-layered, multifaceted. It's intra and interdimensional. It transcends everyday logic and reality in some cases. It stands beyond and outside of the illusion. And that's why I've been wanting to present, and we've had some complications. I think the last time I attempted to broadcast, Facebook and maybe Instagram and some other sites were down globally, and I had just no knowledge. My schedule can be overwhelming. I wasn't on social media earlier in the day, so I just had no idea what was going on, and then life kicks in. So I'm always always grateful and humbled by those who continue to support, continue to love, continue to share and reshare and alert me when I'm not present and remind me why I do this and why I must continue to be present. I am indeed grateful. And standing again with you live, virtually, verbally, cosmically, quantum universally, from this working temple of the house of the Divine Prince, Type Potions, Hoodoo Central, in this legendary, historic, beautiful, and most enchanted city in America, New Orleans, Louisiana, the land of my ancestors and those who came before me along this hoodoo obey a life path and journey, passing down the great obeah stick along with the knowledge of the life-giving herbs, roots, plants, rituals, spirits, minerals, and indeed, yes, our sacred stories, our sacred stories. So I'm always grateful to share. I'm always grateful to answer questions, respond to requests. I invite you to share and reshare and utilize the StreamYard link, if you will. Please use the chat box. I'll remind myself to look down infrequently and make sure I'm not overlooking the chat box on all platforms present. Greetings, Kevon Anthony. Greetings, beloved. Thank you so much for your continued participation and listenership. We are indeed grateful for you, standing with you in yours and your endeavors. Thank you so much, Marlon Dickey. Grateful, grateful. I'm going to talk today about gatekeeping. And it's a topic that, those of us who claim consciousness, who've been present in conscious literature, conscious discussion, conscious platforms, in the last 20 years, we've heard gatekeeping and gatekeeping used in various ways with various points of reference. And of course, this is a hoodoo, voodoo, obeah, root work conjure show. But we talk about history. We talk about a little bit of quantum metaphysics. We talk about its orientation, its relevance, if you will, to the right now, to the present, being that I consider myself, I tout myself as a result-oriented practitioner. I'm not happy with temporary. I don't settle for spell work. And today I'm going to introduce into the conversation that your spell workers are indeed gatekeepers. Gatekeepers. Much like your envision of the bishop, the pastor, the priest, gatekeepers who stand at the gate of truth and knowledge, and sometimes fiction and delusion and illusion, and decide often, and not just decide who might be allowed in, who might be chosen, but also who might have access to resources. Gatekeeping is probably as old as 2,000 years, at least. The major institutions of gatekeeping are indeed Islam and Christianity. You can throw Catholicism in there, you can throw Judaism in there, you can throw all the many children and grandchildren manifestations of those traditions as they show up in the world today. But indeed, gatekeepers have been gatekeepers for some time in separating the masses from what they believe to be truth, what they believe to be safe or unsafe for the masses to consume and or to digest, but also who is allowed within the ranks of those gatekeeping institutions. And sometimes it shows up as a title, sometimes it shows up as a position. It often shows up in paperwork, in detail, in who signs the check, who writes the grants, who controls the resources. For indeed, the gatekeepers not just gatekeep knowledge and sometimes math and sometimes magic, but they gatekeep resources that ultimately the masses, the community seeks access to. We can talk about gatekeeping in politics. We can talk about gatekeeping in government. We can talk about gatekeeping in education. I remember my own mother being a bit of a revolutionary. She would have never coined herself that at the time. But as a music teacher, bringing Black history, Black information, Black knowledge, African awareness, global awareness into the classroom. And that was challenged in the 1970s. As recently as the 1970s, the 1980s, some would probably say it continues in what books are allowed to be read, what authors are allowed to be referenced, what discussions are allowed to be had, in the classroom, in the environment. There are indeed gatekeepers at every level, of the community, from the grassroots up. For indeed, we also have cultural gatekeepers that determine how Black it is or it's not, how real it is for our community or it's not. That often determines what the needs of our community are, and acquires the resources for said, improvement. And then sometimes years later, sometimes decades later, we're trying to count the dollar and track the progress and track the effectiveness or the usefulness of said venture introduced into the community by gatekeeper. And so gatekeeping is an ongoing discussion. I think it, like many other topics, should be rediscussed, renewed, reevaluated seasonally, annually, when indeed necessary. We see gatekeeping, of course, in religion. We see gatekeeping in jobs and in economy and economics. We see gatekeeping. We see a rise of gatekeepers in social media. So I want to quickly reference a document. Let's see, who wrote this document? October 17, 2020, by Angela Hausman. Cultural gatekeepers are disappearing. What that means for marketers. So you may have never heard the term cultural gatekeepers, but you've experienced the forces they will to keep individuals from breaking culture. Marketers face serious consequences when they attempt to break culture or appear disingenuous in their efforts to appear they fit in with popular culture. For instance, the Taco Bell Chihuahua fit with the culture of the 1990s when it was first appeared, but faced criticism over its depiction of Mexican culture that ultimately led brand managers to abandon that ad and the usage of Chihuahua. Cultural gatekeepers thus ensure genuine symbols in our national discourse. And this is important because, especially at the grassroots level, it's a word, it's a phrase, it's a meaning, it's an inference, it's a reference to, and then that language becomes code. That language sometimes becomes legal and sometimes becomes a part of important documents and documentations that move ideas, that move resources, that move funding, that move knowledge, that move information through our community. So cultural gatekeepers, religious gatekeepers, mathematic gatekeepers are all present and relevant in the conversation and the discourse of today. As the power of traditional gatekeepers is declining, the rise of mobs on social media exert severe penalties from those members see as outside cultural norms. For instance, QAnon surfaced conspiracy theories regarding Democrats who were Satan worshipers, who ran rings of child prostitution through various locations. The theories drove one devotee to enter an establishment purported to run such an operation with the intent of killing everyone involved. Luckily, he was stopped before emptying his gun on innocent diners. Now, rather than learned discourse that weighs facts and seeks evidence, individuals are condemned via meme, their actions and statements, which are taken out of context or in some cases just manufactured, and their image manipulated in what is now referenced as deep fakes. So being clear about our own divinity, let's start with that again. The black woman is God, the black woman is God, the black woman is God. And we say that humanity, science supports that humanity was born in the soil, in the rich dirt of Mother Africa. Then indeed those who pass through the birth canal of the great mother are indeed born gods. Born gods. Now, we are indeed having a dual, and some would say a multi-dimensional reality. We struggle from moment to moment between our divinity and our flesh, between our spirit power and our carnal and earth power, between what we have, what we possess, what we own, what we can purchase and buy, versus real value, inner strength, inner power. And so gatekeepers have also been documented at the governmental level. And for my people who love research, I got all kind of links and books for you and sites you can refer to. I'll get it together. I'll get it organized and share it in just a moment. COINTELPRO, which many of my regular long-time listeners have heard me speak of and reference on many occasions, depending on the topic. But another demonstration of governmental gatekeeping, if you will. And this is directly from the FBI Federal Bureau of Investigation Vault website. That's http://vault.fbi.gov/COINTEL-pro. COINTEL, COINTEL hyphen pro, PRO. Vault.fbi.gov/COINTEL hyphen pro. The COINTEL, the FBI began COINTEL, short for Counterintelligence Program, in 1956 to disrupt the activities of the Communist Party, or said Communist Party of the United States. In the 1960s, it was expanded to include a number of other domestic groups, such as the Ku Klux Klan, the Socialist Workers' Party, and the Black Panther Party. All COINTEL operations were said to be ended. The website doesn't say said to, I say said to, but the website says all COINTEL operations were ended in 1971, although limited in scope, about 0.2% of the FBI's workload over a 15-year period. COINTELPRO was later rightfully criticized by Congress and the American people for abridging First Amendment rights and for other reasons. And COINTELPRO, and this is again from the FBI, vault.fbi.gov/COINTEL-pro. This includes white hate groups, New Left, Puerto Rican groups, Black extremist groups, Hoodwink, very interesting link for you to follow, Hoodwink, Cuba, Socialist Workers' Party, espionage programs. And to the right of the page, there are also included vault links to, what's the terminology? the right to information, the law that governs the right to certain documents, to certain information. I need to get my chat up because y'all are smart, often smarter than I am. There's a law that governs, the release of information, the right to have access to information after a certain period of time, and that's why these documents. Greetings, Tasha. Greetings, Martha Martinez, Carol B. Come on in, y'all. Nita Lloyd, welcome, welcome. But that is why these documents are being released and are available to us. So there are, to the right of the page, vault links that include other categories: administrative policy procedures, anti-war, bureau personnel, civil rights, counterterrorism, foreign counterintelligence, frequently requested subjects, fugitives, gang extremist groups, the gangster era, miscellaneous, another tab with miscellaneous information behind it, organizations, organized crime, political figures and events, popular culture, public corruption, the Supreme Court, unexplained phenomenon, which has been recently released, the government files governing UFO, and supposedly what the government knows or does not know about UFOs. There's a World War II file, and then there's a violent crime file. And so I'm going to pop that into the chat. I invite you, especially my researchers and those in my group that love to read and have documentation behind what we talk about and share. Yes, thank you. The Freedom of Information Act. Thank you, Shamafia. These documents are available now because of the Freedom of Information Act. And so I offer, as I've offered before, that, these programs may be ended on paper or ended in the forms that we knew them in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. But technology has come a long way in inviting us to share more information about ourselves, to give more permission to have access to greater information about ourselves. And so indeed, the need for gatekeepers is greater now than ever before. And now I'm going to coin a new phrase, micro gatekeepers, because now the micro gatekeepers can be a group of enthusiasts, a group of people who get behind, who support a particular idea, notion, person, place, or thing, and then work as a group to either support or bring down, to lift up or discredit a person, place, or thing. And so gatekeeping has become much more complex, while at the same time easily accessible by way of your device, by way of your internet, by way of your cell phone, by way of your acknowledging at any point what you believe or don't believe, what you agree with or don't agree with. Do you like pork or beef or chicken or fish or none of the above? From our Ubers, to our Instacarts, to our Amazon.com accounts, and I'm in the number. I wear the mark of the beast, just as many of you do. I have a social security number, and we have many other numbers attached to our names, credit card numbers, ID numbers, account numbers, so we are all carrying or wearing the mark of the beast. There are few among us that have found and gained autonomy beneath the system. And when we look at Hollywood and books and movies and entertainment, indeed that time is coming where people will find and have to create means of communicating above and below the matrix, if you will, if society indeed heads in the direction that many prophetic authors and screenwriters, have predicted. And so gatekeeping is strong right now as it relates to religion, spirituality, practice, belief, that even encompasses health, wellness, how you think about ourselves, wholeness, how we project that footprint. And I know some of you work diligently to sort of mash your footprint to the best of your ability, to not show your face or your real face, or to change up. But unless you're the craftiest of hackers, everything has an IP address. Everything has a footprint. Everything that we do, leads to somewhere, and someone smart and educated, has access, to that information. So there's another group of us who walk and believe we walk and talk authentically in all cases. I don't say anything on screen, on air, that I can't say in private, and vice versa. I'm very unlikely to share, in private what I wouldn't share live on air. I wouldn't speak a bone that I wouldn't want carried back to me. Grandma used to say a dog that'll bring a bone will carry one. I wouldn't share that bone, to be returned, to be brought back. So the gatekeeping right now, we're aware of it in politics. It's real obvious in the red and blue, in the Democrat versus Republican. But it's not quite as obvious when it comes to really manipulating our ideas, our beliefs, how we self-identify. And yes, church and religion still plays a large role in that. But now we have this technology which allows the micromanaging gatekeepers to work in much larger but smaller components, but much larger groups, to influence what we say, what we believe, what we think we're experiencing and understanding. I know some people personally who use bots in Instagram. So I know a person who has 30 accounts in Instagram, and they're quite similar in imagery in most cases. Reshare some of the same stuff in many cases, but it helps to promote the fake likes, I guess. It helps to generate the look of traction of activities. And I know there's some people out there, celebrities, social media influencers who are upset about me discussing this right now. But it's a part of the gatekeeping. It's a part of the gatekeeping. And so we have to re-examine every season, every decade, every, generation, the dynamics of gatekeeping. COINTEL is a well-documented example, and how that affects us. Spell workers are gatekeepers. They are a distraction to, they are a diversion to, they're a crossroads between you and your real self, between you and your own empowerment, between you becoming a god. A god is standing in the god and the goddess that you already are. See, because words are tricky in the becoming a god and the becoming the goddess. But we're born human. You might be a baby, you might be an infant, you might go through a process of evolution, of growth, of development, but we're born human. We just make a distinction between infant human, adolescent human, teenage human, adult human. But you're born God. You're born the goddess. And then we still have to grow. We still have to take this journey. And part of the complexity of this dimensional space that we exist in, intra-dimensional space that we exist in, is the sort of confusion between what's real and what's not real. And we've been taught real is physical. Real is how well your body is stacked, how well your body is put together, how much coins you got stacked in the bank, how much does your house and your property cost. And we don't put the same value on what really matters: consciousness, spirit, how you feel about yourself at any given point in your journey, who you are at any point in your journey. Because that's really, at the end of the day, all we have. At the end of the day, that's all you have. And in each moment, each stone along this pathway of this journey, we have an opportunity to stand up in that truth and either pull from our animal nature, our physical nature, our carnal nature, our what we have, or to indeed pull from something deeper, from a much deeper place of understanding. If we're going to be free from white supremacy, racism, we indeed have to be free from the God spell, God-SPELL. And some of us are transferring that into ATR. You're using that as a sort of a guide for how you are entering and coming into ATR. And so don't get tricked by the gatekeeping. Don't get tricked by the illusions and the delusions that are being presented to you to continue to keep you enslaved, to continue to keep you a slave, to continue to keep you thinking that you don't have a choice, you don't have an option, you don't have a way out, you don't have anything to work with. None of that is true. It's an illusion. And anyone who's ever had a conversation with me, consultation with me, a reading with me, you hear me talk about the illusion of the issue, the block, the complication all the time. It's an illusion. It's often an illusion. And how we address it, how we go at it, how we attack it is often contingent on what we know or believe we know at any given moment, what we understand or believe we know at any crossroads. Greetings, Danette Gibbs. Greetings, beloved, at any point in our understanding. And forgive me, anyone who I may not have greeted individually. Either I haven't seen your name yet, or I may have overlooked you, but forgive me. The Goat Rider and the Master Builder, thank you so much, beloved. Peace and blessings to you and yours. Thank you for being present. Thank you. Rambo, the Don, thank you. I appreciate you. Shale, greetings, peace and blessings. Rollins, greetings. Yes. So the gatekeeping right now is targeting your mind, how you feel, how you view yourself, how you view and interpret and understand God. That there's a struggle, there's a battle going on. Some might call it Armageddon that's happening as we speak, in terms of your holding on to what was programmed, what was enforced upon us, what we were born into in terms of understanding, versus where God and spirit are truly seeking to carry you now. Because many of you have been praying to God, praying to ancestors, praying to the spirit for answers, for knowledge, for information, for how to move things forward, for what to do. And they are indeed speaking in every moment of our existence, in every moment of our being. God and the ancestors are indeed speaking, fighting, pushing forward on our better interests, for our best interests. We just have to be willing to be still, to be quiet, to tune in first to self, and to speak. If you have to speak it, several times a day, dozens of times a day. I am, and therefore my creators are. Because see, we've been taught to say it in the reverse. My creators are, so therefore I am. The Christ said, greater works that I do, ye shall do, right? If we accept that magical book. So we've got to regain some sense of consciousness first about self, And for many of us, that's the journey of ancestry. That's the journey of ancestral work and divination. That's the journey of DNA work. I've got new Ancestry.com relatives right now in my inbox. I've got new 23andMe relatives right now in my inbox. And many people are getting down to the wanting to know, and not just the discussion of, and not just the argument of. And your gatekeepers are in position to keep you afloat in that water, in that wash of wondering, of looking, of doubting, of showing some degree of interest in, but not the follow through. And they are reinforcing the not following through. And so your spellcasters, those are gatekeepers. Just like some of your ministers are indeed gatekeepers. Some of your educators are indeed gatekeepers. You know, they're not in a position to teach you, feed you, acknowledge you on an individual level, the way we do in initiation, the way we did in indigenous culture. To, just take you and your peer group, you and those boys and you and those girls that were born when you were born, under that astrology, under that sky, under that roadmap, and then nurtured you individually and then collectively as a group. And that's one of the root reasons we seek out initiation. But there are gatekeepers in position for initiation. There are gatekeepers in position for accessing traditional religious systems. There are gatekeepers in position to ensure that the economy of Lukumi in Cuba goes unbroken, it's not disturbed. It continues to be supported and maintained. There are those who are maintaining an economy of tourism-based initiatory ceremonies in West Africa. Nigeria is a good example. We give you ceremony, we give you ritual, we give you African Americans, a connection to the motherland. But no, your initiation gives you no power. No, your initiation gives you no authority. No, your initiation gives you no title. And I've seen that with many who've traveled to West Africa to receive ceremony. I've seen it happen with people who traveled to Haiti to receive ceremony. And the idea that you can initiate in a visit, in a weekend, in a couple of weeks is just not realistic. No one can learn algebra, for God's sakes, in a week under those conditions, and with all the hands-on environmental, attributes that go along with traveling. So we've got gatekeepers even that are in position to limit access for the African born in America and their ability to connect to what we perceive to be our roots. And we've been taught to always seek our roots outside ourselves, somewhere else. So we got to go to Haiti to get our groove back. We got to go to Jamaica. We got to go to Dominican Republic. We got to go to Brazil. We got to go to Zanzibar. Do they still exist? South Africa. We have to go to Tanzania, to get our groove back, neglecting that our ancestors are with us forever and eternally with us, and stand up in our blood and stand up in our DNA. And indeed, that is being activated. Many of you are dreaming dreams. Many of you are seeing visions. Some of us have had extraterrestrial contacts. We need to do a whole show on just that. The notion, the idea that, extraterrestrial technology could have indeed been misinterpreted by our oldest of ancestors as something divine, as something magical, as something supernatural. And so, indeed, all of our water on Earth, all of our mineral deposits on Earth come from the sky, come from outer space, come from the cosmos, come from indeed the universe. And so there are gatekeepers in place to limit even our growth and our awareness of cosmic and universal consciousness, cosmic and universal math, cosmic and universal time space. We're shifting. Did you all notice the shift between linear time and space time, in our government? Just adding a colon and another set of numbers, but we're beginning to move by way of technology, by way of, math, by way of development. We're moving forward in consciousness as humanity, as inhabitants that are riding Earth, as a space vessel at this time. And indeed, there are gatekeepers that are protecting, limiting people's access to what might otherwise be dangerous. Not just what might be controversial, not just what might be unpopular, but what could be perceived as dangerous, could break the foundations of humanity, could break the very foundations of how, Black people think, for example, as a community, as a collective. And if we just shifted one thing, how we spend our money or how we vote as a collective body, we could literally shake the foundations of America and possibly the global economy. We know China is another example of a place with enough human bodies to shift the course of the globe, the course of humanity. So there are indeed gatekeepers in place that ensure that certain knowledge is disseminated or not disseminated in certain communities, among certain groups of people, among certain demographics, and that we maintain a certain, I knew that Neophyte Bokur when I said Rollins. I knew that, I just embraced, you're Rollins right now. I just embraced that. But I got you, beloved. Yeah. Rollins, Neophyte Bokur, has talked about, gatekeeping in terms of access to, what's being carried across the country in these trucks. And we're given one story, one scenario, one understanding of what's happening, on the news or from your government officials. And then you have these actual people in the food chain, these truckers, the drivers, the security, the people who have to do the lifting, that are in place, who are reporting a very different scenario than sometimes what's disseminated to the public. And certainly information that someone, some group, some inner structure deems dangerous or important enough to protect, enough to guard, establish a system of gatekeeping that separates the regular folk, the masses, often the people on the ground doing the work, from real truths, and real truths that could be self-empowering, real truths that could benefit the person, the individual. It reminds me of, I got two stories. One goes way back to like childhood, and another one is more recent, like Hurricane Katrina. So I'm gonna tell the childhood. I remember the first time I saw any sign of hoodoo, voodoo, in practice, in your face, but hidden right in your face. We were members of Potomac Baptist Church. I believe that's Northeast Washington, D.C., right across from DuPont Park. Beautiful place, beautiful church, old stone. I'm not sure who built that church originally. Out of the ground up, stone, masonry kind of church. Not a Catholic church, very small structure, as a matter of fact, as far as churches go, and particularly churches of today, but certainly bigger than a storefront. had its own plot of land set up on a hill, and had a very similar uh, yard structure to Fort DuPont Park. Pine trees, evergreen bushes. I remember elderberry and some other, seasonal plants that were in that environment. And it's the first time I saw a Catholic saint in a so-called Black church environment and begin to ask questions about what's going on here. What are we really doing? And I was probably, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe, when we started going to that church, Black Baptist Spiritualist church at that time. Pastors died, pastors passed away, churches gained new administration. So I don't know who owns or possesses that building today. But I'm speaking of, the 1970s. Okay, to sort of date myself. And it was the first time I saw actual statuary of what I knew and understood, even at that age, to be Catholic saints in a Black religious church environment, right out in the open, but not spoken of, not referenced to. And so I remember the Mary and Jesus and the Saint Jude and some of the other saints that were depicted in that space right as you came into the foyer, and then a few with inside the body of this church, and it was the first outward sign to me, even though at that age I didn't know quite what it was. I didn't understand quite what it meant. I couldn't obviously tie it all together, but I had a gift. um, Monsters shine a certain color for me. Angels turn purple, in my presence. I can't explain it. Um, my mom at the time probably would have said, all is a blessing, beloved. We probably need to speak off air. That would be good, so we can get caught up and I can assist you, in any way possible. But all is a blessing. I get it. I do. So I had, as a child, a gift that allowed me to see things, even in the midst of ritual tradition, and people sort of moving in some ways, as I would describe, sort of blindly, almost as if in a trance, just fulfilling a role, fulfilling a ritual, going through movements, almost in slow motion, while this spiritual reality, this spiritual truth played itself out in front of me as a child. So my mom might have said I was a gossipy child. I knew a lot of people's business in the church that I probably shouldn't know, and in many cases had no way of knowing, at a very young age. And I would come out, when I was allowed to, I would come out talking about it. Almost every Sunday, the minute I would get in the car, I would go into a critique of what I had seen and what I had experienced, and what I witnessed, and what it meant, or didn't mean, or just trying to seek answers for. And at that time, no one said directly what it was, what it meant. I remember going to a member's house. I believe her name was Catherine Coates at the time. May she rest in heaven. I know she passed away maybe in the mid 1980s. But I remember going to her house and seeing this green table set up, a table with green cloth and silverware on top of the table, and coins, silver coins in some of the placements on the table, and green liquid and green candles, and and I knew there was more to what I was saying. I knew there was more than what they were saying on Sunday morning between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. in front of me. And at that time, no one was speaking to it. No one was saying, I remember the first time we visited another church. Some of you have heard me tell the story, a popular church at the time in Northeast DC. The name will come to me in a minute. Um, and at that time, the thing was to shout. You know, what preacher, what gospel choir from whatever town, from whatever temple, you know, could roll through and just wreck a place. You know, just cause people to fall out and to faint and to, you know, to catch the spirit. We got all kind of code words for catching the spirit. And that was the thing at the time. You know, you were the most popular singer, you were the most popular gospel choir, you were the most popular preacher. You know, if you could create an ecstatic experience within the ceremony, that was the thing in 1980s. And so I remember visiting this church and people falling out and catching the spirit, and I'm seeing angels, demons, jinn, ghosts. I'm seeing all kind of stuff going on in the room. I'm at a tennis match, you know, and a girl not far from me, but someone that I knew from our home church, you know, caught what they say caught the Holy Ghost and started speaking in tongues. And this is real tongue now. I know the difference between gibberish and hikamahanda versus real tongues. The hair stand up on my arms when I'm in the presence of real tongues. I feel electromagnetic energy all over my body when I'm in the presence of real spirit. And so this girl, you know, was having her ecstatic moment, and she was speaking in tongue, and here come the, you know, in the Baptist tradition, the women in white, you know, Obatala with the large pieces of white cloth and fabric, you know, with fans to cool her off and to, you know, in my understanding then, and even more so now, to contain this energy, to contain this power, to contain this spirit. So indeed, they were gatekeepers. And as my family transitioned from sort of the Black Baptist spiritualist churches to evangelical Christianity, um, it was identified as gatekeeping. They just didn't call it that. But the pastors, you know, in the evangelical churches, the bishops and evangelists love to talk about, you know, you Baptist folks, you know, that catch the Holy Ghost, and then you create a human chain, a human circle around the individual and fan them down and give them smelling salts and all this kind of stuff, you know, to kill, to quiet, to bind, to control that energy. So even as a child, I was able to feel, perceive, and identify gatekeepers. They would just turn green in my view, in my vision. That they would turn another color. And often I would see, sometimes months, years before others would see. And my first audience, my first inner circle, my first witnesses were my mother and my sister Wapani and my god sister Tessie and people who I was close to at the time. The people that I gossiped with, the people that I said, child, did you see sister so-and-so, brother so-and-so, and what they did and how they acted and how they maneuvered. And we were very precocious children, all of us, you know, were very precocious and highly sensitive, highly empathic to the presence of energy. And I think that is increased in environments where children are not allowed to speak, are not allowed to speak freely, and not allowed to speak their mind. And certainly in my environment, lived in fear of the backhand. You know, you could just literally just catch a backhand, you know, from nowhere. You know, you could catch a backhand, you know, grocery store, church, it didn't matter. You know, in that day and time, you could catch a backhand depending on your parents and the dynamics of your family for speaking out or over speaking. And so we then learned how to be quiet, how to hold secrets, how to keep things within, how to analyze over time, engage urgency, engage what's important. Um, I'm experiencing right now sort of a season of clients and callers and friends, with exaggerated ideas of urgency. What's urgent? What's an emergency? So someone texts you and say it's an urgent. I got to speak to you. It's an emergency. And then you call and we discuss the weather and what's on TV right now and what you had for dinner. That's not urgent. That's not an emergency. And I think we approach even life in the crossroads looking for, and in some cases, creating fires for ourselves and often for other people. Some of you are creating fires for other people. And that's one of my personal rules, pet peeves. Other people can't create fires for me. You can't create an emergency and then put it on me. I've been in emergency. I've been in urgencies. I've been without power. I've been without home. I've been without food, in the course of over a half a century, of my being and existence. I know what an urgency and an emergency is. And often had no one other than the system, maybe, religious institutions, Salvation Army, Red Cross, FEMA, to turn to, but couldn't always call mother, father, sister, brother, grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt. And many of you are in that scenario. If your car broke down right now, if your lights went out right now, who would you call? Who would be your support? Who would be your backup, in those moments? So being a runaway child who went through a season of always creating urgencies, because I'm always speaking from my own truth. I was that child who was all out there, broken, battered, abused, um, mental health needing check, whatever the case may be, as a teenager on the street, but also learning how to create fires and expecting other people to put it out. Grandma, it's an emergency over here. Can you help me out? Can you send me money? Can you give me a bus ticket out of here to the next destination where I'm going to create another fire, another emergency, and ask you to help me to pay my rent or to keep my lights on or to, you know, keep my cell phone on, while we live and become grown adults and in some cases have children and grandchildren and don't break that cycle of creating, self-creating fires, roadblocks, the illusion of the challenge, the issue of the block. Some of us get our power from that illusion of a block. Once upon a time, I really believed that I was at my best under pressure. I was at my best in a state of urgency. That was my reality at the time. And so I believed at the time that that was indeed my truth, only to praise the ancestors and the Most High to grow and mature spiritually and really experience and understand what true independence is, what true autonomy really is. And so there are gatekeepers in position to make sure that you never access your initiation, that you never figure out who your ethnic group and your people really are, that you never figure out, who your, in some cases, your parents or your grandparents are or really were. That there are gatekeepers in the way, positioned to keep you afloat in the sea of the unknown, to keep you wandering. For those of you who like to wander and sojourn and travel from town to town and taste the fruit and smell the flowers, from village to village, which is a beautiful experience, but also time consuming. And there's a clock that's in motion that can't be stopped, can't be halted, can't be turned back. We don't like to talk about it a lot, but indeed it is. and it begins to show up and give itself color and presence, in our reality. And we mature and we grow and we learn to embrace and love ourselves and who we are and who we're becoming. But indeed, as you get older, you either become more free of the gatekeeper or that much more settled in to accepting a gatekeeper to present information, to present power to yourself. And let's not forget, the first gatekeeper is up here, is in your own head, your own ori, in your own tet, because indeed the knowledge can be presented to you, can be right in your face, the truth can be offered, and if your gatekeeper is blocking, is refusing entry, it's not allowing even ourselves to be still, to know when to, because sometimes you can talk, somebody in my past life used to say, greetings, Orisha, beloved. Iba E Orisha, Mojuba Orisha. Thank you so much, you and your beautiful family, for your continued support and love and presence. But someone in my past life also used to say, misery likes company. Had all kind of quick thought philosophy. A lot of quick thought. What do you call them? Sayings. That became a part of my inner thinking process, and that subsequently becomes your own gatekeeper. And so we can then, even through religion or political positioning, or even through our own pain, some of you have experienced pain to the level, to the degree that you've shut yourself off to love, and ultimately to some truths, to some realities, because of our fear of pain in association to the illusion of some person, place, thing, event. And so we're completely closed and we're completely shut off. That person in my past life used to say, you can't hear with your mouth open, meaning you can't talk and continue to talk and express and re-express and stress your opinion and not hear, not stop long enough to hear what may very well be of value to us. Because often it's of great value if we could just hear it. And so sometimes it means, yeah, zip it. Yeah, put some tape on it, put a lock on it, and listen. Often, more often than not, if we listen, we will hear the truth. And spirit will acknowledge and confirm the truth if we're just willing to listen. It's when we get in that place where we can't listen, won't listen, that the gatekeepers have done their job and have programmed us well to not hear and not respond to certain stimuli that could otherwise be of our best interest. So, pastors have generationally been gatekeepers to allow and gain access to, and there was a time and place in history where it was, to our benefit. It was the only safe space that we had was the church, the Black church. It was the only gathering spot we may have had access to, legally, rightfully. It was the only place that we could gather and speak quietly and discuss things. And so it had and has had and continues to some degree have its place, in our reality. But we now have, generations of young people and older folk like myself, who are just not having it anymore, who are just not accepting the old songs, the old truths, the old traditions, the old ways of doing things and addressing things. And so we're now seeing a micromanagement of gatekeeping. And indeed, it is the community that seeks to silence and seeks to shut down, a particular celebrity or a particular voice or particular position. And some of these positions, rightfully so, need to be shut down, need to be limited. But we also can't create a space in which truth speakers, truth, TRUTH, speakers can't speak freely to the truth without backlash from the community, without concern of how many likes or follows or subscribing. Will speaking the truth gain me, as opposed to, coming on here naked or coming on here in a clown costume and entertaining you, or creating funny little skits, to tickle your sides and, to pinch your funny bone, and there's a place for that. My family, my supporters, my community, they say that this ain't the space for that. High noon, US Central Standard Time. That they appreciate hearing the truth, the real spiritual truth. And so this rash of spell keepers, spell makers, ritual workers, whose lives are in a hot mess. And we know that's not a read. We know that because your lives are on social media for the most part. But you're offering prosperity work. You're offering love and relationship work. You're offering a quick magic spell to make things bright and sunny in 48 hours, 72 hours. These are gatekeepers, and their jobs are to limit, keep you spinning, keep you questioning, keep you in the gameplay, of hockey. Table. You ever play tabletop hockey? They want to keep you in play, keep you in motion, without ever allowing you to pass through the goalposts, without allowing you true access to self-empowerment, self-enrichment, indeed becoming an authentic healer, practitioner, musician, artisan, writer, creator. There's so many realms for the magical to manifest our magic in. We need more writers. We need more script writers. We need more agents and agencies that represent who and what we are. And indeed, we need more spiritual centers, spiritual temples. Because again, many are falling away from the mainstream gatekeepers of religion, and are now seeking to express their truths, in other ways. And right now that's happening through the botanicas, that's happening through social media, that it's happening, in a small town wherever you are. But we need to take these empty buildings, these abandoned, churches and rec centers, and indeed turn them into cultural centers, indeed turn them into educational centers about ancestry, about genealogy, about indigenous practice, indigenous worldviews, and help us to continue to grow beyond the gatekeepers and the confines of the gate, the velvet ropes that keep us separate from those that we perceive to have access. And having access to information indeed affords access to resources. It's not always directly to a check, but if I know of a job and I don't tell you a job exists, but I only share it with 5 of my good people, then that's a missed opportunity. There's a word for that, in government, in the military, in the workspace, for fraternizing and keeping certain information held to vest only for those of your family, of your community. And it seems, I'm not saying how true it is, but it seems everyone does that but us. Every ethnic group, every, new member of our community, of our society, they come and they support each other and build, housing and security and employment for each other, for themselves. I don't know what just happened with my chat. Okay. And it appears, I say it appears because they're always relative truths. It appears that others are better at that than we are. And so there is the gatekeeper, indeed, who makes sure that their community, their organization, and those who are determined administrators of said organization reap the cream of the crop, reap the whole of the benefits, reap the balance of the check, and then administer by way of associates and subordinate members of the community, relegate, designate, organize, and then maybe pinch you off a piece. And so we've got to be more conscious, especially in this virtual space, of who we're lifting up, who we're praising, who we're making famous. There's a whole movement, and I don't know the guy's name. I'm not even going to say the guy's name if I could remember the guy's name. Overtly gay. You all know who I'm talking about. He's known for doing I'm no longer gay. I'm not gay. I'm delivered. Hallelujah. I'm delivered. I won't wear dresses anymore. I won't carry pocketbooks anymore. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who I'm talking about. It's funny. It's humorous. It's entertaining. The boy's getting rich off of those keystrokes. Others are, splicing it, dicing it, editing it, resharing it. Foolishness. And then people like Dr. Sabi, may he rest in our room. Oh my goodness. Do you understand what Dr. Sabi went through as he died, before he died, as he was dying, and the subsequent? And Dr. Sabi wasn't rich, wealthy. Oh, Dr. Sabi's popular now. You use Dr. Sabi to sort of promote your profiles and your posts, and yeah, but when Dr. Sabi was alive, except for those who were in the food chain, who were clients of Dr. Sabi, supporters of Dr. Sabi's, donators of Dr. Sabi, friends in many cases with Dr. Sabi, had met Dr. Sabi on many occasions. Just like a church, just like most organizations, there's going to be, a dozen, 2 dozen, depends on the size of the organization, 3 dozen people who are going to be committed no matter what, who are not going to change no matter what, who are going to understand the root of what the mission is no matter what. And then you're going to have fans and frenemies and the nosy and the what do you call it, the voyeurs that are going to pass through. And sometimes that looks like a crowd of people passing through. And other times it don't look like a lot of people walking past. But again, the roots of the tree are fertilized and nourished, and fed through constant activity, through constant interacting with the weather, getting out there in the middle of the crossroads, getting out there in the middle of the street. And so, we cannot continue to allow gatekeepers to determine what's faddish, what's trending, what's popular, what's useful about root work, hoodoo, conjure, Ifa, Fan, Ewe, Kandable, Palo, just for entertainment, likes, follows, to build up streaming opportunities. We've got to see a more concentrated, consistent demonstration footprint that indeed we've made the shift, because there are other people who are watching our demonstration who too want freedom from inner enslavement, mental enslavement, spiritual enslavement, religious enslavement, economic enslavement. And they're indeed looking to our demonstration, what we do and how successful our demonstration is, to follow, much like our younger people, much like our children, much like the grassroots community. Some people need to see a change before they believe in the change, and then want to participate and be a party to that change. But we can't continue to focus all the energy on magic, fantasy, temporary spells, temporary entertainment. We cannot. And so I will continue to be present at high noon, U.S. Central Standard Time, on many platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, EarthCam, StreamYard. I will continue to be present, both on and off the air. I will continue to move things forward. I've got big projects on the table, and some of you are aware, on things that have to be filmed and moved forward, are in the works. And for that, I'm grateful. And sometimes it interferes, sometimes it intersects with scheduling. But I'm here for you. I'm here with you in your endeavors. I love each and every one of you. I'm grateful for your continued support and shows of support in helping us to grow and develop as a community, as a family, as a team, and continue to move things forward in revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo secrets and recipes. So we still got some time. If indeed you have questions, comments, or requests, I'm here for you. If you are on my phone lines, I'm grateful for those of you who are on my phone lines. That area code 202, I see you. Thank you, beloved. If you have a question, comment, or request, do press the number 1, and I will open your mic and bring you in. Otherwise, those of you who are in the live chat, who are seeing me now by way of video, you can follow the StreamYard.com/XVCPUXVY9I. And I will also screen you and then bring you in. I will never bring anyone on camera ever again without screening you first. So thank you very, very, very much. Mish Kanet, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. That sounds very Ethiopian, by the way. Mish Kanet. I love the sound of that. Andrew Caldwell. Yeah, that's the one. Very entertaining. It's humorous. Some people might find it cute. Some people might not think it's cute, but it's entertainment worthy for sure. But it has grown legs and has become a life of its own. And some of us wonder, well, why certain things trend more than others, why certain things show up more in our feed than others. And indeed, it has everything to do first with your settings, but secondly with what you respond to, what you look at, what you're willing to entertain. And so these algorithms that some of you just fear, certainly know a great deal more about us than many people know about their family and their friends in today's cultural dynamic. Back in the 70s, you had to memorize every phone number that you knew. You knew your mama, your friends, your sisters, your brother. You knew those phone numbers by memory. And if you didn't, you had a phone book that you had to write that down in and keep up with. Today, how many of you have your mother, your sister, your brother, your friends, your jobs, your kids' school phone numbers memorized? Or is that in your device? Another gatekeeper is our own device. and some of us without that device would be at a loss, at least temporarily, would be at a loss. So this is a powerful topic, gatekeeping, how gatekeepers have shown up in politics, have shown up in religion, continue to show up in economics. There are indeed gatekeepers who determine what's being built in your community. And not just the politicians, but your outspoken community activists. Any one of you under the sound of my voice could be an outspoken community activist who's publicly known, facially recognized, they know your name, you're sitting in city council, you're showing up to the planning meetings, you're keeping up with the documentation, and you too can be a gatekeeper of your community to ensure certain things are being done, being built, being accessed to within the dynamics of your block. I'm just telling you, it's more than a notion. And it's a reason that many of us don't do it. It's a reason that many of you do not do it or refuse to do it. And then there's others who may not understand just how accessible that dynamic of your community is to your participation and your involvement. And so there are activists sitting now in the sound of my voice who don't realize until right now that you're an activist, that can absolutely get involved in your community, the planning committee, the city council, your local mayors, your local municipalities, counties. We have parishes in Louisiana, and get more actively involved in your communities. It's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother language. Understanding the language and the code words used and how grants are distributed, how funding for certain projects in your community are gained and then developed. Very interesting journey. For my avid readers and researchers out there, I shared earlier the link to the actual COINTEL files from the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. HBO, I'm sorry, not HBO. I got HBO on the mind, forgive me. COINTELPRO, Hoodwink, Federal Bureau of Investigation. And you can not only read about COINTELPRO, but about the gangster era, organized crime, popular culture, Supreme Court, unexplained phenomenon, UFO study, and how our government has and probably continues to keep check on what we say, what we do, what we post. Indeed, what becomes popular, what trends. I've noticed that I gain a certain footing in TikTok, and then all of a sudden, there's a glitch, there's a flag, there's a warning, and things slow way down. And someone, and probably outside our country, because the matter of the fact is, when you call Cox, when you call Comcast, when you call AT&T, when you call what you believe to be local businesses, often you're speaking to people in other countries. And so I believe even our technicians, hello, okay, you get the accent. I'm not prejudiced to accents. I'm not prejudiced to dialect. I'm not prejudiced to language. But I am suggesting that we're communicating more and more and more with people outside of our country who don't share our politics, who don't necessarily share all of our beliefs, want American technology, want American lifestyle, but don't support many American ideas, values. And that would include those of Black people, those of brown people, those of the minority and ethnic minorities within the country. And so I believe, call it a conspiracy, that they are indeed technicians, the people that are helping you to fix what's going on with your internet, fix what's going on with your cell phone, or in other locations and around the world, and indeed have an opportunity to interrupt, affect, control who has access to what within the dynamics of our society. We learned that recently, again, firsthand, Hurricane Ida. AT&T went out for the entire city. Government, a lot of our city government was codependent on AT&T. We have huge AT&T building right on Porter Street here in New Orleans. And from my understanding, power is still not right in those 3, 4, 5 blocks on Porter Street. The traffic lights don't even work still in that area closest to AT&T. But we all lost all of our AT&T during that storm, and then subsequently all the power went out. But our technology, which is really moving things forward in the world, is often governed, controlled, operated outside of our communities. And how many math whiz, computer whiz, do we really know? Beyond your cable man, beyond the nice guy who comes out and makes sure your cable is working and your internet is set up. But beyond that, who's filling those jobs? Who's fulfilling those positions? And to what role, to what degree does it affect access to gatekeeping into our community for resources and for information? Greetings, Kevin Brooks. He still remembers his parents' home phone number. Yes, so do I. I still remember my grandmother's phone number, my mother's phone number, address, important details, more so than any of the new numbers that I'm now having to interact with. Let's see, Samantha Rothschild, did you recommend that we start our day by asking our Ori to show us more? Oh yeah, that you start your day first with, how do you feel? Even before you wake up, if that's possible, before you jump up out of bed. And some of you got children, got schedules, got pets, got alarm clocks. But those of us who still can sleep and wake up when your body wakes up naturally, before you open your eyes, how do you feel? How do I feel? Always breathing fully, deeply. How do I feel? This is also how you determine where you are in your shadow work. How do I feel? How do I feel? Is God still in control? Second question, is God still in control? Are the ancestors still in control? Those 3 questions right there alone help you to establish where you are in terms of shadow work, where you are in terms of what you need to do. Because if you can't answer them in an affirmative, if you can't get the best response from how do you feel, and listen, I'm not suggesting it's easy. If it helps you to understand, I'm greatly challenged every single day with waking up human. Every day. I kid you not, no cap. As the kids say, no cap. I wake up every single day challenged with humanity. Oh God, I'm still a human. I'm still here. I'm still in this body. I'm still on earth. I still got to deal every day. And so it took years of chanting, of meditating, of mantras to wake up as I do today and feel alive, feel connected, feel empowered, and feel like God. Do you feel like God when you wake up in the morning? Do you feel like the goddess when you realize that you're still alive, that you're breathing and about to see the light again? Do you feel like God? Do you feel like you're in control? Do you feel like God and the ancestors are in control? Those are the critical questions to determining if you have shadow work, where it is, and then how to determine how to approach it. So yes, Ori, your head, your consciousness, looking into this, not directly into the sun, but looking into the light, looking at the rising of the sun, breathing that in, taking that in, accepting your role as co-creator in the process. I am, God is, the ancestors are, we are. Absolutely. Ori, your head and ancestors is in your blood. And then grounding that energy. Because some of us are challenged with just grounding that energy. The first 4 hours I wake up, I'm in the air. My feet are up here somewhere off the floor. I'm floating in the air. I can do, regular stuff. But I'm sort of robotic. I'm in my thoughts. And in the best case scenario, I don't want to talk. I don't want to communicate out loud. I need that silence. If I have to get up early in the morning, I need that silence to answer those questions. How do you feel? Or how do you feel? Are you glad to be here? That would be question number 2. Are you glad to be here? Is God still in control? Is God still in control? Are the ancestors still in control? And there are other questions, but those would be the 4 bases. And if you can't answer that in an affirmative, you can't answer that with clarity within yourself, then once you open your eyes and come out here, then you coming out the wrong side of the bed, or you stepping out of a dimensional space that you're now carrying into your present moment in time space. So I'm not suggesting it's easy. I'm not suggesting it comes quick. Some of us need some time. So I learned the mantra, all is a blessing, all is a blessing. Because I'm going to say that first to me before I even text it to my mama or to Wapani or to Yvette. I'm going to first say it within myself, all is a blessing. No matter how I'm feeling, all is a blessing. No matter what the illusion might look like, all is a blessing. And you say it until you make it. You say it until you can stand in it. That's why I say the black woman is God. The black woman is God. The black woman is God. I say it at least 3 times. So you heard me, you felt me, you internalized, you digested. So yeah, that Ori work, first thing in the morning, what you think about, what you say to yourself, how you feel, what do you believe about who you are, about your power, about your truth. That's all Ori work. That's all part of Lave Tech and the instruction and that comes with that. Do you recommend that we ask Ori? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Maybe not. Yeah, okay, what we're ready to see, but to show me, your Ori knows where you are in your journey. Your Ori knows what degree of what you can handle. Absolutely. But yeah, Shemap, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once you see it, as beloved brother Rollins says, you can't unsee it. Once you speak that truth, ask for that truth, you can't then unsee it. You can't then undo it. You can't then go back to, you must then evolve. You must then change. And I've never been here to say, flee from your synagogue, flee from your temple, run from your church. I've never been that guy. But God, you keep asking God for truth. You keep asking God to show you. You keep asking God to lead you away from harm, from your enemies, from your blockages. And he says, go that way, and you keep going back to that way. There's a problem. There's indeed a problem. And so you have to evolve. You have to change. You have to grow. It might be your call to evolve, change, and grow that environment for which you are in. And that's not always easy either. Sometimes the friends, the family, those closest to you can be the most challenging in hearing that truth. And so that's where demonstration comes in. 30 years ago, my mama wasn't trying to hear me. Many people weren't trying to hear me, but it took some time of watching my demonstration and connecting those two, what he says he believes, what he keeps saying he believes, and then how he acts in several scenarios, the light scenario, the dark scenario, the dry scenario, the wet scenario. Life is full of weather. And then people begin to understand and embrace the truth, and maybe even embrace the truth in a way that similar to how we view and see that truth. Thank you, Kevin Brooks. Thank you, everyone, so much. I appreciate you. He says, I speak the truth because he applied the work at home as a Google customer service. None of those positions was for him or for someone from America. And if there's a position, you must be able to speak another language, a second language, multiple languages, numerous languages. Yeah, Kevin Brooks, I get it. I used to work for, and I probably shouldn't do this on air, but I'm gonna do it. Work at home agents, West, WEST. I'm trying to remember what those acronyms mean. But they were work at home agents. All your Soul 70s commercials, your Lipozines commercials. Many of those 800 Call Me Now commercials were done from at home. And let me tell you, it was 17 cents to 27 cents a minute. Home Shopping Network, Toys R Us, I think. Just crazy. Real jobs. You're asked to operate more than one screen, open more than one platform. They can monitor your keystrokes, so you can't be in Facebook while you're supposed to be taking people's credit card numbers and all that kind of stuff. It's a real job. They test you, make you, if you're good at testing like I am, easy into this job. You got to study some stuff, for a week. You take these tests. Kevin, I'm talking and still trying to remember the details. Work at home agent, West. There's another name they go by. It'll come to me. But yeah, it was that kind of work. And at first, and maybe you felt the same thing, I felt empowered. I felt self-employed. I felt, wow, I can do this from at home, in my shorts, in my gown, with my coffee and whatnot, with my TV on captions, and then it started feeling like a job. I committed to, 60 hours. I committed to 80 hours. I was the overtime guy. If people dropped hours, I was picking them up. And, once you committed to an hour, from noon to 1, from 1:30 to 2 o'clock, you had to work that hour or those half hours that you committed to. And so they allowed you to pick up, you want 20 hours, you want 40 hours, you could pick that up. Then it began to feel like a job. Oh yeah. Then it began to feel like a job. Then the callers begin to get on your nerves. Then they get suspicious and they start sending test callers whose job is to get on your nerves. I hope y'all understand that. They send mystery callers. I'm a mystery caller, if y'all don't know. I am a mystery caller. I'm that guy who calls and tests your business and tests the customer service and how was I treated. I'm one of those people. Yeah, and I had to get out of there. That it was not for me. And I think we are often looking to pay the bills. This isn't a judgment. We're looking to pay the bills. Some of you are looking for an easier way, looking for the shortcut. I think that's human nature. And then the idea, but it's relative. And the idea that we must work for our meat, has been ingrained in the programming, certainly of Christianity and many other, world dominating religious practices and traditions. But the notion of really how our ancestors, our indigenous and aboriginal ancestors lived, was a more communal, self-employable. You know, you were good at what you were good at, and then you sold and or traded that. You had access to certain resources, so you processed those resources and you sold and or traded that. And so the world dynamic has shifted, but I think that still exists. But figuring out what your niche is, figuring out what feels good to you, what feels best to you, and it's still going to generate, self-employable. Greetings, Tosh, beloved. Greetings, Beverly McFadden. Oh my goodness. Tessie, beloved. Everybody here today. Oh my goodness. But finding what really fits you, what adheres to who you are and how you vibrate, and what's not going to get on your nerves. I don't think anything that pays your bills, it's just going to be free of any kind of drama whatsoever. I mean, nothing. I don't care what the industry, what the enterprise, what the service, even if you're hands off, you got staff, you got everybody in position, something about that is going to irritate you. I mean, it's just a fact of life. You might love pecans, you might love picking pecans, but you might not like shelling pecans. You might love shrimp, but the idea of peeling a shrimp, deveining a shrimp, okay, then that's a little bit more work, and everybody's not cut out for that either. I don't eat everybody's potato salad. I don't eat everybody's shrimp product. Everybody don't know how to clean shrimp, or that cleaning is even necessary. Everybody don't understand crawfish require some cleaning inside and out, and so that job is not for everybody. But we find the job, we find the niche, and forgive me for sounding like Oprah, that you enjoy, that feels most like you, that applies your best skills and abilities, and then you find a way to generate an income around that. That's shifting now with the depletion of resources on the planet. Product, recreating product, redoing product, renewing product, repackaging product. Now we have digital devices and virtual realities, and so now it's mind power, which is Ori, mind power. How strong is your math? How strong is your verbiage? How strong is your word usage? How strong is your ability to explain something, to teach something, to tell an interesting story, to write an interesting song, to come up with challenging but enticing lyrics? That's where skill today, and particularly with the younger generations, is really showing up. And so they're popping out of the womb with the idea of not wanting a job, but they want to be a star, they want to be an entertainer, or they want to be an athlete, or they want to be a creator. And whether you're born in the 2000s, for your 20-somethings, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, it's never too late to use your brain power to shift the dynamics of your ultimate reality. Almost like a computer, having to recalibrate how you envision your reality, how you envision your world, how you envision, your universe, and then line things up to where one is in alignment with the other. One matches your best interest. One mirrors your own image. We see God in our own image. I believe we created God in our own image. And even if you believe God is up there and in the sky and it's beyond us, indeed, we created God in our own image. We are up there in the sky and beyond us. And just maybe we're looking up into our own face. We're looking, call it extraterrestrial, call it divine consciousness, call it something that comes from another space, time, place. But just imagine we could be looking up at ourselves, that the supposed extraterrestrial, the supposed alien is really
158
us
943
in the future, us in another dimensional space, us in another place and time, looking back, looking down at ourselves. So entertain that as a thought, entertain that as a spiritual notion. I'm looking at the clock, it's 1:50, and I do have something in the oven. So I'm grateful for everybody, family, friends, loved ones, lifelong loved ones. Tessie, thank you so much, girlfriend, for being here today. Thank you, Neophyte Bokur, one of my favorite co-hosts, for showing up. One of my regulars, Nina Lloyd, Beverly McFadden, my beloved Tosh Carter, hair, makeup, styling, set. Tosh does it all, yeah. Okay? Tosh does it all. Thank you, Kevin Brooks, Shamafia, beloved Shamafia. Thank you for your consistency and your co-hosting and your presence. I want to say your name right. Mish Kanet, thank you so much for being with us. Beloved Arisha, you and your family, Chef Bougie, thank you so much, Tomcat. Greetings, beloved. You feel familiar even though you have a new name, Tomcat, but thank you so much for being here. Rambo the Don, greetings, greetings. Mix Sage Hall, welcome, beloved. I too am a MX, period. I too am a mix. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you. The Goat Rider, the Master Builder, Danette Gibbs, thank you so much. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Tasha, the beloved Tasha Harris. Tasha loves you. Thank you so much for your participation. Kevon, Anthony, my beloved cousins, Lakeithia, thank you for being with us. Yvette, thank you for showing up. Yvette Mosaic, Lakeisha Morehouse, thank you all. Alexis Williams, I'm grateful for your love, your support, your listenership, your participation. I look forward to being here with you again at high noon, U.S. Central Standard Time, understanding that I am because my creators are. I am because my creators are. All powerful, open, and receptive to all that operates in my good. Right here, right now, in this most present moment in time space, I choose. I get to choose. I get to choose happiness, peace, serenity, prosperity, health, wellness. I get to choose. And so you, underneath the sound of my voice, watching me from wherever you are, you get to choose. We are co-creators with God. God said so. The scriptures all around the world said so. Spiritual practices among our Aboriginal ancestors all around the world said so. We create and recreate the reality in which we live in which we exist in. Choose what's in your best interest. Choose what mirrors your best image. Choose what builds, not what tears down. Choose what grows, what develops, not what binds and keeps us locked in. I'm not asking you to switch your beliefs. I'm not asking you to change your religions. I'm not asking you to pick a new God. For indeed, there's only one God. There's only one God. We call it by many names. We call it by many faces. We call it by many identities. We call it by many vibrations. But indeed, there's only one. There's only one great mother. And the black woman indeed is God and birthed all humanity into existence. We're not negating our cousins. We're not negating our Neanderthals and our Cro-Magnums and all of our cousins. But indeed, the Black woman is God and created all humanity from within her womb, within her nest of life, and birthed each and every one of us as gods and goddesses to be present in this moment. No one's here by mistake. No one's here by accident. No one's here because you just happened upon me. We're all here by divine order to bring something, to change something, to do something right now, in this most present moment in time space. The paradigm has shifted. The reality has shifted. We're not going back. I think you all get that now. We're not going back to pre-pandemic. We can't go back to pre-Hurricane Ida any more than we can go back to pre-Hurricane Katrina. Our paradigm has shifted. Our reality has shifted. We are now living and existing in a new paradigm. And there's magic abundant all around us, within us, flows in, it flows out. Don't be prohibited. Don't be blocked by a gatekeeper. Keep your eyes on the gatekeepers. They're limiting your access. They're limiting your ability to regain and stand in your own truth. The gatekeepers are in between you and God. The gatekeepers are in between you and spirit. The gatekeepers are in between you and the magic. Their goal is to keep you from accessing the elders. Their goal is to keep you from accessing the traditions. Their goal is to keep you from accessing and filling in the blanks, and to keep you looking and searching and trying a little this and trying a little that and spending a little bit money over here and spending a little bit money over there. And then when you get close to your destination, you don't have resources to get your blood work done, to get your DNA done. You don't have $99, $79 to get your DNA work done. Come on now. You can't gather a few coins to get your initiations done, to get your ancestral work and divination done. Understand the gatekeepers have a job to do, but so too do we. We are called. We are called. We are chosen. We are called to make real changes right here, right now, in this most present moment in time space. Stop fighting the battle of, do I work the system? Do I stay in this job? Do I keep getting up every day and doing this, that, and other? Or do I really stand in my truth? Do I really live the life that God and the ancestors are pushing me, are creating the illusion of the issue, the block, and the complication, so that I will eventually figure out that maybe I should move this way, the path of least resistance. It's amazing how God works. It's amazing how things come together. It's amazing how all the pieces fall into place when you surrender and you listen and you open yourself to your own voice. Shamaki said, Ori, your own God,
90 seconds.
your own head, then to your heart, and then to your spirit. I leave you in peace, love, joy, happiness, prosperity. I look forward to being with you in this space again next time at high noon, US Central Standard Time. All is truly and indeed a blessing. I'm grateful for you. I'm honored for you. I appreciate you. I am indeed here for you.
60 seconds.
Please send me your emails. Don't try and request readings in social media. I don't do that. Don't try and request readings in Instagram. I won't do it. Don't try and discuss your reading with me in Twitter. I won't do it. I'm always going to say, send me an email. It's professional. It's etiquette. It's business. Your spirit, your soul is business. I don't do that in social media. I appreciate you. I'm a little hoarse. I guess my throat has gotten out of the habit of doing 2-hour podcasts, but I'm going to get it together. All is a blessing, y'all. Thank you for your attention, your love, your support. your listenership, your participation.
10 seconds.
Thank you so much, y'all. All is a blessing. Yes, peace.
A dash of cayenne to the root.
Thank you, Tessie. Thank you, Tessie.
Gonna put on my green suit. Boil a gumbo, hot and steady. Don't care if it's ready. Gonna freeze at that old cemetery.
Thank you, Connie.
Down on Cleveland where she's